This is the Alden Report.
Today's episode is brought to you by FrontRowBenefits.com, connecting consumers and businesses with front row access to the greatest health insurance that the United States has to offer. Visit FrontRowBenefits.com. Folks, listen, if you're like me, if you own a business, if you have a family, or if you're an individual and you're looking for front row access to healthcare, maybe you're tired of your premiums going up. Maybe you don't want to pay those high deductibles anymore. Maybe you're tired of paying more and more for your monthly prescriptions, and you want to make sure that you're getting that VIP access, that front row access, then visit FrontRowBenefits.com and get a free quote. They're connecting consumers and businesses with the top level insurance carriers in the United States at discounted prices. Visit FrontRowBenefits.com. That's FrontRowBenefits.com.
This is the Alden Report.
Right. Well, my name is Mike Alden. We are here in Blue Vase Studios. And as always, I always say how excited I am for my next guest. I'm super excited for my next guest. He's an author. He's a wealth management expert, but he's also, and we're going to be a little careful. We're going to say he's an expert as well within the world of cryptocurrency. Before we even started talking, we said, "Oh man, I don't know that there's really even experts out there." This guy actually has been doing it. He continues to do it, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about what's going on within the world of cryptocurrency. Should you get involved? Shouldn't you get involved? What to look out for? All these different things that so many of us have questions about. I'm super excited to have my next guest. Please help me welcome Mr. Seth Maniscalco. Seth, thanks so much for being my guest.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity.
So I'm here rocking my used to be 99-cent glasses. These are now $17.99 glasses. I did get them at CVS. And I also have, for those who are watching, I don't know that I've come out with this now, but this is kind of a big deal for me. And I think you were really surprised when you saw, if you could see the t-shirt that I'm wearing. If you can't see the whole thing, it says that I am Satoshi Nakamoto, right? And so I'm the creator of Bitcoin. I didn't know if you knew that, but now you know.
Better watch out. There's some nasty people going to be looking for you, Mike.
Hey, that's cool, man. That's cool. So, so this world of crypto, I was telling you earlier, I've had some pretty big players on my podcast back in the day. I wrote a book called Crushing Crypto back in 2016, I think. So tell us, and I know you do more than just cryptocurrency within the financial markets, but tell us a little bit about, kind of your background and how you got to this whole kind of crypto space.
Yeah, I'm, I grew up average life like most people, I guess, middle income type family. I had two working parents, joined the military. I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years, got into air traffic control radar systems, largely a technology background. While I was in the Marines, I went to Southern Illinois University, got my degree in electronics, got out of the military, had my first son, who was born 2 weeks before September 11th. And kind of a little moment there where I didn't think I was ever going to get out of the military. Glad I was able to get out. I ended up joining Siemens Medical and was an ultrasound engineer, ended up getting promoted up to management, ran a $35 million company, service company, and eventually got to the point, through my investments and my focus on trying to make my money build more money, where I didn't need that six-figure income anymore. So I finally just kind of threw my hands up and said, look, I'm done working 100 hours a week and I'm going to do my own thing. So kind of lied to myself for about a year and said, oh, I'm retired. I don't need this anymore. And, quite honestly found out I was kind of bored. Not enough to keep myself busy, and decided to refocus my passions on investments into helping other people make their money work for them and escape that rat race as well. So that's really what I'm all about, is helping other people grow their investments and have their money make more money. So yes, I'm a crypto guy in a lot of respects that way, because crypto is the single best asset on the planet. It's almost hard to ignore if you actually understand money and how assets work. But it goes bigger than that, because I have been around technology stocks. I started investing in tech stocks about 25 years ago. I've done Forex, I've done futures. We have a small hedge fund. And of course I have Crypto Wealth Coach, and we focus on crypto investments as well. So
there's a lot to unpack there, as we would say in this industry. A lot of things. It's interesting because you have the military background, you have a bit of a tech background. So for someone like you, I think it was probably not that difficult to really kind of understand what I like to say is the essence of cryptocurrency and kind of really what it stands for and the technology. But for those who are listening now, it's 2021. There was a hell of a run with Bitcoin. Now it's, calmed down a little bit, and, who knows when people are going to be listening to this, who knows what Bitcoin's going to be doing by the time this thing goes live. But tell us first, you said it's, if anybody knows anything about money, that it's it's something that you need to pay attention to, is essentially what you said. So first of all, what is cryptocurrency, right? What is cryptocurrency, and why should people pay attention to it?
That's a difficult question, because cryptocurrency is one aspect of the blockchain technology. And what the real revolution with blockchain technology is the triple ledger accounting. In the old days, you and I would agree to something with a handshake, right? Like, I want to buy your cow or whatever, and I'll give you a piece of gold. I'm just making up examples. But it's you and I, man to man, coming up with an agreement, right? So a lot of things can go sour. You can change your mind. Maybe I change my mind, whatever. And we have a disagreement, and that agreement goes sour, essentially, right? I mean, there's opportunity for it to not work out, or someone to change their mind. Then we moved on to the second level, which is where we trust a third party. In this case, maybe, you keep your money in a bank, right? You trust the bank to keep that accounting for you. You have $100 in your bank account, you get paid interest. You're trusting on someone else to do that. Same thing with an accountant, right? If you run a business and you have an accountant that's taking care of that for you, that particular accountant is susceptible, right? I mean, if somebody comes along, wants to offer them $100 to bribe them, there's countless examples in history where that person has been corrupted, right? I mean, it requires trust in order to have that third person take care of the agreement that Mike and Seth agreed to. Something can go wrong. There's examples, whatever, there's psychopaths out there in the world today. I think everybody knows that at the end of this 18-month pandemic, right? Not everybody is mentally healthy. Anyway, my point is, it's an opportunity for corruption. The beauty of blockchain is that.
Hold on a second there, because what you just said now, see, what you just said is, I think what is kind of almost the complete opposite of what people think in the real world. They think that cryptocurrency is really the gateway to nefarious activity and difficult and horrible things happening to people. You're talking about traditional banking right now, and saying that's actually, kind of where the nefarious actors can really, have fun, so to speak. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, let's be honest. Anywhere there's money, there's going to be nefarious actors. Okay. The question is, who is susceptible? Where can that nefarious action occur? Right? Because not all banks are bad. I don't want to paint a picture. There may be a few bad VIPs who are doing things they shouldn't be doing. The banking industry has been literally fined trillions and trillions of dollars over the years. So, I'm not saying anything you can't Google on your own. Not all banks are bad, but yeah, if you want to do crime, it's much better to operate in cash than it is to operate in Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin is a public ledger, anybody can go and, do a Bitcoin tracking app and figure out whether you sent me money or I sent you money, or whether we sent it to Nigeria, whatever. But the point I was getting to with it, blockchain, everybody else, if you've got 1 million computers out there, the record of my wallet and your wallet is all transcribed out there onto those 1 million other computers. So there's no opportunity to change that, unless you can hack 1 million different computers all in 10 minutes, which is logistically probably next to impossible. It's not going to happen. So it's much safer that way. There's no mistakes that are going to be made. It's completely all the onus is on me. So if I send you a Bitcoin and then I made a mistake, or I sent it to the wrong wallet, that's my fault, right? Like, there's nobody else that can be blamed for that. So that's good, because there's no corruption that can happen in those 1 million networks of computer. Because I understand crypto, we talked a little bit about this. I get it. The distributed ledger, which you talked about earlier. You're talking also about decentralization, which is essentially a trustless system, right? So you don't necessarily need to trust a person because it's all based off of, algorithms and mathematical equations. And so it just happens on the blockchain, right? So that's what we're talking about. But when
how do you make the average everyday person who doesn't have your tech background, who doesn't have your 25 plus years within the financial markets, really get comfortable with cryptocurrency? Because to this day, it still seems like this really esoteric thing. And there's the massive FOMO, which is used heavily within the crypto world, fear of missing out. How do you really make somebody comfortable? I'll tell you real quick. I was with over a friend of mine's house yesterday, and I was talking to his mom, she's 80 years old. She's pretty sharp for 80. And, she was an accountant. So she kind of got it at 80. But most people still to this day, they don't get it. They see the rise of Bitcoin and the fall of Bitcoin, and all of a sudden Dogecoin and all these other things. All these people think they're fucking crypto experts because they're watching CNBC now. But really, how do you get someone comfortable? Like if I'm listening right now or watching right now, and I have not got involved in cryptocurrency, what would you suggest to someone as kind of one of the first things to do? And we're going to get into your book, Prohibited Profits, as well. But I want to like walk me through. I've never got involved in crypto. What should I do?
Stop listening to the news, right? I mean, we've seen the media go just ape crazy this past year. They like to interview and find folks who support their biases. Crime happens with cryptocurrency, all those kind of, they're designed to tug on your emotions, right? Like that's how the media makes their money, is by selling newspapers and getting you to watch. And the human mind is largely fear-based, right? Like that's how we've evolved from animals, is to be scared of things. Essentially, that's how we stayed alive as a species. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but I guess the best answer is you've got to educate yourself. Stop listening to folks on the media who have no idea what they're talking about. You want to have an understanding of money. What is the big problem?
Did you just say the media doesn't know what they're talking about?
How dare I?
All right, go ahead, keep going.
Not every, again, that's a general catch-all. Not everybody, but most folks who are just talking heads, right? I mean, they're interviewing folks who call crypto a bad thing. It's used for criminals. The governments are going to ban it. They target that. It's going to get you to watch their show. And yeah, of course, crime happens with Bitcoin. There was a history of the Silk Road. The crime happens with Bitcoin, but a whole lot more crime happens with the US dollar because it's untraceable. Only dumb criminals use Bitcoin to do their crimes. Like you'd have to be a complete moron and not understand that public ledger if you're going to do your crime there, because it can be traced. Sorry, let me.
Go ahead. Go. Yeah.
The best example is the pipeline hack that we just had, right? A couple of weeks ago. The U.S. government tracked that Bitcoin. I forget what the number was. I want to say about $5 million, 5.2 million, whatever it was. Those Bitcoins ended up on an exchange. The US government went out and got a hold of that exchange and seized that money back. That only could have happened because it could have happened for two ways. One, it's a public ledger and Bitcoin is traceable. Two, whoever the hackers were made a ridiculous mistake and put it on a centralized exchange that is at the mercy of, their own, that exchange's discretion. So the U.S. government handed them a warrant or whatever and said, we're seizing this back. We tracked this from a paid wallet. And they got that money back, right? Those hackers didn't end up making anything. So there's a lot of mistakes that happen, but the weakness with that is the centralized exchanges. I mean, that is the major problem. To use a centralized exchange to navigate a decentralized economy is self-defeating in and of itself.
I think you've dispelled,
right?
I think you've kind of dispelled what a lot of people think, because, it's funny, having studied it myself, having got involved in like 2014 or even maybe a little bit earlier. And I really saw the beauty of it from a payment processing standpoint and the ability to send money and transact. To me, that's what I really liked about it. Because I've transacted in hundreds of millions in credit card processing, and I just see the inefficiencies there. But what you just said, again, it was really interesting, is that because there is a blockchain where there is an immutable ledger, meaning it can never disappear. It is in fact traceable. People don't get that. They think, look, but like you said, if you're really smart, just like anything else, you can kind of make it really difficult to figure out like what's happening, but you can do the same with cash. So I think now talk a little bit about the security of it though, right? Because people think, oh, well, my money is, it's FDIC insured and it's in a bank and I'm better off, that way. Talk a little bit about the security of cryptocurrency and why, it's better or worse.
Simple answer, it's a limited supply. There's no limit to how much the U.S. government can print, right? I mean, we've seen that this year. I think they printed something like $7 trillion. So yeah, your money may be FDIC insured in a bank, but it's only insured up to $250,000. So if you've got $1 million and you want to have it all insured, you need to have 4 bank accounts, with a max of 250 grand. The problem with that is inflation. Just because your money is sitting in that bank, the U.S. government or the Federal Reserve, more accurately, can just continue to print more money, and it devalues your money, right? I mean, we've seen that in the prices of gas, the prices of lumber, the prices of medicine. Everything's going up, right? It costs more to live today than it did a year ago, and that's simply because there's more money out there. The beauty of Bitcoin in particular, not all cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin has a maximum supply of 21 million Bitcoins. And that's the trust part of it, is that, people say Bitcoin isn't backed by anything. Well, that's false, because it's backed by math. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoins. If you understand the mining process and how the 4-year blockchain cycle works, it's brilliantly designed so that, somewhere around 2140, the last Bitcoin will have been mined. And of course, by that point, we'll be talking fractions of Bitcoins. But how that is distributed is what keeps the prices going, what keeps the demand going, because it's a limited supply, right? I mean, the people who understand gold and silver understand money in that regard, because, I'm not going to have the argument about asteroids and, gold and silver being out on Mars and all that. Right now, today, we're limited to being on planet Earth in all realisticness, but you can only dig so much gold out of the ground. And in many ways, it works in the same concept of proof of work of Bitcoin, right? Somebody's got to go out and dig that gold or silver out of the ground. They then have to press it into a coin and polish it up and make it all look nice, so that you have essentially proof of work. You've got to have the ability to be able to say that there's only so much on this planet, and that's what makes it rare. And that's the beauty of folks who really truly understand deflationary currency, and that's what Bitcoin is. There's something like 10,000 different cryptocurrencies out there, and not all of them are like that. 98% of them will disappear in the next several years. 98% of them are trying to be the next Bitcoin. And frankly, we don't need another Bitcoin. Bitcoin's already doing its own thing. So, as Crypto Wealth Coach is focused on helping folks invest in the cryptocurrency markets. And one of those fundamental principles that we only touch money or cryptocurrency that has a finite supply and is deflationary. That is one of the primary principle of a sound currency and a sound storage of value. So Bitcoin obviously does that. Not all of them do that. So I want to make sure that I'm clear for the viewers here that Bitcoin does do that. There's other coins that don't, but that's an important principle that you need to understand, because you cannot make more. So by simply holding it, if you've got one Bitcoin compared to something like 8 billion people out there, I forget the number, but there's only like 36 million millionaires on the planet. So every single millionaire on the planet can't even own one Bitcoin. So, that's just simple supply and demand. That's a long answer to get to your answer, but.
Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I could follow it up with another one, but I'm not going to, because we only have so much time with you. I could talk to you forever. We're on with Seth Maniscalco. Seth is the author of Prohibited Profits: Unlock the Secrets of Wealth Hidden from the Masses. You can actually just visit his website, prohibitedprofits.com. You can also find him on Instagram at Seth Maniscalco, Maniscalco. You can also visit his website, SethManiscalco.com, to learn a little bit more about him, what he's doing, what his team is doing, not just within the world of cryptocurrency, but within just the whole world of wealth management. Today's episode is brought to you by FrontRowBenefits.com, connecting consumers and businesses with front row access to the greatest health insurance that the United States has to offer. Visit FrontRowBenefits.com. Folks, listen, if you're like me, if you own a business, if you have a family, or if you're an individual and you're looking for front row access to healthcare, maybe you're tired of your premiums going up. Maybe you don't want to pay those high deductibles anymore. Maybe you're tired of paying more and more for your monthly prescriptions, and you want to make sure that you're getting that VIP access, that front row access, then visit FrontRowBenefits.com and get a free quote. They're connecting consumers and businesses with the top level insurance carriers in the United States at discounted prices. Visit FrontRowBenefits.com. That's FrontRowBenefits.com. Now, your book, you say you detail why the money system is broken. I think you kind of touched upon that a little bit, but why is the financial markets broken, or the money system broken, and what's the answer?
Yeah, we could spend days talking about that, right? I mean, that's a
give me the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about inflation. You can talk about market manipulation, where you've got CEOs of companies that have insider information. They're busy selling their stocks before the market or their stock prices dip. And then, the last guy holding the bucket takes the hit, right? I mean, there's a lot of corruption out there. And people are just manipulative. It really comes down to human nature in many ways, right? Like greedy people are going to.
Yeah, but hold on a second. But I mean, okay. So look at Dogecoin or Bitcoin. When you got someone like, Elon Musk, who just opens his mouth one way or the other, and it goes up and down, up and down. Or you even out here, we're from Boston, and you look at the guy from Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, like he's shilling a coin. And all these guys, when you talk about manipulation of markets, it seems like it's a lot easier to manipulate markets with the crypto world. No?
I disagree with that, because it's not market manipulation. What that is retail investor manipulation, right?
Okay.
You're talking about,
but that's not the market.
It's human nature, because people swing from fear to greed, and 95% of investors are bad at it because they succumb to that mental emotions that we all have. We're all human, right? We all feel greed, fear, sadness, happiness. But when people make decisions based on that, right? You're listening to some rich billionaire and you're making your investment decisions based on tweeting, you're in trouble to begin with, because honestly, you really don't know what you're doing. There's that.
Yeah, but don't you think, I think some of for Elon Musk, he's already under a permanent injunction with the SEC. So for him to even open his mouth, I think is somewhat callous on his part, but he's the second richest guy in the world. So I don't think he fucking cares. But, don't you think that, they're from a macro perspective, when people see that, especially even with like Dogecoin, which is literally a joke, that there is this just ease the market manipulation? I guess the answer to that would be, GameStop. I mean, that wasn't crypto, but right.
Right. That shows the power of investors pulling together and, taking advantage of the whole shorting market. I don't know. It's because what you're not actually manipulating is Bitcoin, right? Like that ledger didn't go anywhere. Everybody who had their wallets didn't change. One Bitcoin is always equal to one Bitcoin, no matter what that US dollar or any currency that you're comparing it to price is. One Bitcoin is always going to be one Bitcoin. What my opinion would be that what you're manipulating is people's minds and their emotions. Nothing.
And I guess the same thing. I guess the same thing happens in the stock market, right? It's the same thing, right?
It's not. That's where that rabbit hole goes deep, because you've got people who can manipulate the stock prices. You got people who can manipulate the shares that they have when they hold, and that insider information that is not supposed to be available to everybody else. Corrupt people take advantage of it. You can't do that with Bitcoin. There's nobody. I can't change how much I have and the fundamentals of Bitcoin. You can change how people think about it. You can change the media, the news, what gets put out there. But what you're really changing is humans. You're not changing the market itself. And, I guess we could probably argue back and forth. Does it have an effect on the market? Absolutely. But you didn't actually affect Bitcoin in any way, shape, or form.
No, but again, I guess maybe we are talking about two different things, because we're talking about Bitcoin, which is, for ease, we'll just call it an entity, because it's not, it's not a currency and or a security. But the price of Bitcoin, people feel like that it's easily manipulated. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Dogecoin, same thing. I mean, when Elon Musk goes on Saturday Night Live, here's the crazy thing, right? Elon Musk goes on Saturday Night Live, people think Dogecoin is going to go through the moon, and then the opposite happened, right? And what I meant by it is, you're right. It's the human element that changes either one, I guess, right? Is what I'm saying. I get what you're saying. You're not manipulating the very essence of the code, SHA-256 code, right? But what you're saying, it's all in our heads, right? That's what we're manipulating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference between, your Bitcoin example and your Dogecoin example. Dogecoin is an inflationary currency. During the whole time that this Dogecoin pump, or whatever you want to call it, was happening, they created millions more Dogecoin coins. It's an inflationary currency. There is no cap to that. So it's far more easily manipulated, to go from whatever it was, a fraction of a penny, to the market hysteria of 73 cents, was purely a function of uneducated investors basically chasing a get rich quick overnight scheme. We saw the AMC, the GameStop, and the Dogecoin all fall into that market, right? Basically uneducated investors getting into something that they didn't understand. It's what we call a pump and dump in the industry, is when folks go out and manipulate it. It can happen in any market. It happens in stocks. It's happened to Bitcoin. There's groups and other currencies where that has happened. But the big difference there is that Dogecoin is not a sound currency. It was very literally designed to be a joke. Very literally.
Right. Yeah, I know. So someone picks up your book, Prohibited Profits. I believe there's 9 chapters in there. So what am I going to learn when I pick up your book? Is it more than just cryptocurrency? Is it different principles? Is it I don't want to reveal all the secrets in your book, but we got to find out some stuff. Like someone picks up your book. What am I going to learn when I pick up Prohibited Profits?
Looking at the history of markets, right? The concept of prohibited profits is basically the repeating cycle that we see. And several examples are, there's a history of alcohol prohibition back, I think it was like 1933. We legalized it, made it illegal. The folks who were involved in alcohol and got themselves put in a position before it got legalized made, generational wealth. I mean, they just made ridiculous money. The same thing has happened. You can look at cannabis prohibition and what's happened in this country in particular. Somewhere in, I think it was 2014, Colorado was the first state to legalize it at the state level. Here we are 7 years later, and I think there's something like 42 states that have legalized it. Well, the folks who were involved, in Colorado, and basically when it was illegal, right, they positioned themselves to win in the market, came out way ahead. If you're going out and trying to start a cannabis business today, you're probably going to lose because the big boys are already in place, and you're going to be a small guy competing against huge mega corporations. But the opportunity existed. You can look at the same thing today with magic mushrooms and psilocybin, right? That pattern is starting to repeat itself. We've got, I think Oregon was the first state to legalize it. They're now looking at even medical legalization, and that domino effect, if you will, I believe personally is going to continue. I think there's a lot of good benefits as people get smarter about things, the opportunity for investments, the benefits of cannabis, the benefits of psilocybin, whether or not you agree with that, there's a medical value to that, and it's real. Like it's given us an investment opportunity. You can look at the same thing with the whole .com boom and how the internet started, right? I'm old enough. I was a teenager when the .com thing started, but there were people making millions and billions of, not billions, but millions and millions of dollars in that market. It was people were laughing at the internet, right? Like 30 years ago, people, who needs the internet? What is this? This is for gamers and weirdos. Well, good luck running your life today without the internet, right? I mean, it's become an
Bill Gates said the internet was a fad.
and here he is. That speaks for itself. And it's about education, right? I mean, and who was talking bad about it back then? The media, right? I mean, folks who didn't understand it kind of had that bias, if you will. And as people get smarter, they start to learn, the masses start to catch up. And it usually tends to be like the 2% of society and investors who see the real value. And that is where the opportunity is. Like from an investor, having a hedge fund, helping over 50 people make their first $1 million in cryptocurrency, from an investor mindset, finding that sound currency, finding what is going to solve a problem in the marketplace, and being the first one to invest in it is where you get the rewards, right? Taking the bigger risk gets you the bigger rewards.
In a second, I want to talk to you. I'm going to cut you up, but in a second, I want to ask you, when you mentioned coins, right? So, we had the ICO bubble, initial coin offerings. Now we're dealing with NFTs. And now all these other different coins out there, and it seems a lot easier. And I think a lot of people are going to really put themselves in a bind, but I want to talk a little bit about all these different coins out there, what to look for. Do you cover it in your book? And if you don't, let's cover it here on the podcast. We're on with Seth Maniscalco. He's the author of Prohibited Profits: Unlock the Secrets of Wealth Hidden from the Masses. If you'd like some more information, again, about Seth, you can go to sethmaniscalco.com. You can also check him out on Instagram. It's the same thing as Seth Maniscalco. His last name is Maniscalco. And you can also go to prohibitedprofits.com to pick up the book. Again, so if you want some more information about Seth and what he's doing, check him out at those different websites. All right, so you had mentioned coins. I've been involved, I think I told you, like since 2014, and you had these ICOs, initial coin offerings, and now we got NFTs, which to me are just essentially just smart contracts. It's nothing new, but but what's going on with all these different coins? I get into the crypto market and I look and I see, Cardano, or I see all these different, I see, Litecoin and Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash. And there's just so many of them, and I want a piece of it. I want my piece of one of your, I want to be the number 51 of the millionaires that you've made. What do I look for? How do I tell what the fuck is going on? How do I really how does the average everyday person look at the charts that are behind you and say, okay, I can figure this thing out? Or do they really need someone like you to train them for a while?
Yeah. So just from my own experience, one of the reasons that I've been able to be successful is because I go out and hire people who are smarter than me. I'm on your show because you're a podcast expert and you've got an audience. You've built this. I don't know the first thing about podcasting. That's over my head. I've kind of focused.
You're doing a great job. That's okay. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate that. But maybe a better example is, a lot of people will say, well, the janitor can become the CEO of a company, right? Which is absolutely true. I don't negate that. However, let's look at where people start. If you start at the janitor level, you're going to have to put in a lot of long hours. It's going to take you years to get promoted to be a manager, to be a supervisor, to be an executive, to the vice president, to the CEO, right? Like you're probably talking a 20 to 30 year career to get to that point. You're going to start at a lower salary. You probably won't start with a 401k at the janitor level. But if you go in and you start as a manager or director, you're going to get more money. You're going to have less time to ramp up to be that CEO. And you're going to be with the inside crowd, and you're going to get further ahead much faster than you will as the janitor. So, it's you kind of become the product of your 5 closest friends, right? So if 5 of your friends are millionaires, you're going to end up becoming the 6th. And what that really is about is putting yourself in a situation to win with people who already know what you're doing. And the important part is who have the results that you want in your life. Listening to some guy who doubled his money on Bitcoin in the last 30 days or 90 days, and has no investment experience, and turned his $100 into $200. If you're taking investment advice from that guy, you're in trouble, because that he doesn't really know what he's talking about. He's excited about doubling his money, but if you haven't made like over 10,000% in Bitcoin at this point, you weren't in early enough, and you probably don't know enough about it to get other people the same kind of results. You don't know what to look for. Basically, you got lucky. that's a key point, is to put yourself in an environment where you can win and achieve those kind of results. And so, yes, you can go out and you could, there's a million YouTube videos out there. You've got a book. I've got a book coming out. There's 100 other books on crypto.
Yeah. How can you tell though, man? Like so that's the hardest part, is the misinformation that's out there. Like, how do we know that you're real? How do we know that I'm real? How do we know that those guys on YouTube aren't real? I mean, you see all these, opportunists, which I don't have a problem with them. You get like, who's the guy there with the crazy hair, Ausler, like he was everywhere. Now he's just gone. You got guys like Ty Lopez, who were then, he was like, oh, cryptocurrency. So he's out there. He's got all these people. You get all these people jumping in because they're opportunists. Again, I don't have a problem with opportunists. Whatever is what it is, but they're not experts. Right. And so you've been doing this. You've been in the financial markets for 25 years. And like that, we know. Right. And you can prove that, and that's verifiable. You probably even put it on the blockchain if you want, Seth, so how can we tell?
Certificates on the blockchain.
Yeah. I mean, how can we tell, man? Like, how can we really tell? Like so someone's exclusive of picking up your book, exclusive of listening to this and watching this, and they want to learn about it. I'll tell you what I tell people. So one of the things I tell people is, there's a great documentary called Banking on Bitcoin. Right. And so I tell people, look, watch that. Right. Because I have no financial interest in that whatsoever. I say, watch that. So it kind of gives you a pretty good overview of the origins of cryptocurrency. I like that. But so exclusive of your book, where would you send somebody? Are they going to go to your website, cryptowealthcoach.co, or like where can they get real information? That I think is one of the biggest problems with this world. Too many fucking experts that have no idea what they're talking about.
A lot of noise, right? It's hard to filter through that. The biggest thing is to look at people and what they've done. For me personally, like, if you don't have the results that I want to achieve in my own life, I honestly don't give two satoshis what your opinion is. I'm looking for people that I can learn from, copy their results, and duplicate them for myself. So who are you, look very closely at who you're taking advice from. If you're taking advice from a guy on social media who's still working a day job, I promise you, he doesn't have he's not a multimillionaire. Anybody who's.
What about all the Forex guys that send me messages on Instagram? What about those guys? They want to double my money. You think I should trust those guys?
No, those guys make their money off of your membership fees, right? I mean, whatever they're selling, their $97 course is how they're making their money. So
is it trust but verify, Seth? Is that what it really is? Trust but verify?
That's really what it is, right? Yeah. I mean, filter down, trust but verify. Ask to speak to some of their clients if they've got clients. I've got a business page with over 125 business reviews, 5-star reviews. You can talk to one of my clients who has made 7 figures. We've been doing this for 5 years. I have a 5-year track record of price points, recommendations, our results that we've delivered for other people. That's not to say everybody's followed the results, but the opportunity was there, right? I mean,
so if someone wanted to kind of fast track their knowledge and their understanding, and they like, even though I have my glasses on, I'm not selling anything, so that's okay. So you don't need to trust me, so to speak. People who've been listening and watching the podcast, they know it's kind of like my thing.
Let me see the whites of your eyes.
Yeah, well, there's reasons why, actually, and it's really, honestly, it's the sight line. I'm looking at a camera. If I look up, then and if I look down, if I move away, it just looks odd. That's why I wear the glasses, for those listening and watching right now. So plus, I just fucking look cool with them. So, I mean, so someone goes to, like, let's say they go to your cryptowealthcoach.co. They want to kind of fast track their knowledge. They want a kind of a done for you service. Can you do that for them? Like, can you kind of hold their hand within the world? Like, how does that work? So someone goes again to cryptowealthcoach.co. Is that where they go to for help?
Yeah. So on the website, we have a couple of different services. Our VIP level service, that we call it, is essentially an investment research newsletter. There's I forget the name of the company. There's a couple companies that do it. I think Palm Beach Confidential has a crypto group. They charge something like $5,000 to be a membership in that group. I'm a membership of it. So it's good to know what your competitors are doing. But anyway, so they go out. what's the other company? There's different stock investment newsletters, right? So they go out and they'll do what I call a fundamental analysis of a particular stock, right? You want to go buy Tesla when, here's the fundamentals, here's the leadership, A, B, C, D, and they give you a fundamental analysis of the technology and basically why you want to invest in that, right? So all I did was I kind of stole their business model, except our focus is on the cryptocurrency market. So we do exactly that. We'll give you, a 5, 7, 8-page write-up of why you want to buy this, what problem that technology is solving, if there's leadership, the risk, the reward, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Some people tell me I give them just way too much information.
Is that weekly or monthly?
It varies. We do somewhere between 2 and 4 recommendations per month. Again, depending on the market, that can be more or less, but that's what we try and target. And so we give you, don't invest in something you don't understand, right? Like that's I think a foundational principle, because when you don't understand what you're investing in is when you succumb to your emotions. So what I do is I try to give you as much information as possible to understand what you're investing in. And then when you understand the foundations and what this technology is going to solve, you can get past the emotions. There was a point back in the 90s when Amazon dropped something like 98%. So the folks who understood what was going on didn't get shook out of the market, are, multi-hundred millionaires today, made a lot of freaking money, right? We're talking generational wealth, because they understood the foundations of what they were trying to solve. That's happened in the .com market. It happened with Microsoft. There's countless examples. The same thing happens with crypto. So, the market goes up, it goes down. We had a conversation about market manipulation. 20, 30% dips are common in crypto, right? So buy when there's blood in the streets. Most people do the opposite. When the price goes down, they sell and they panic. Well, that's when you should actually be buying. If you understand what's going on in the foundational principles, that's when you should be stacking your Satoshis. So anyway, I give a whole lot of information to help support you understand what's going on and why you want to buy this. And then we have a model portfolio, and we monitor that price for you. So we use real-time services. So when we give you a buy call, there's a call to action, very clear, one paragraph at the end of those 7 or 8 pages that says, buy at this price, buy on this exchange, pay no more than this. And we continue to support you by monitoring that in the market. So if something goes up 300%, we will tell you to sell a third of your position. For example, if you put $1,000 into, Link or whatever, and it goes up to $3,000, that'd be a 300% return. I would tell you to pull your $1,000 back out of that, put it either back into Bitcoin or into some other, crypto or other opportunity. And essentially you've eliminated your risk from that position. It's a zero risk position, right? I hate to use gambling examples, but most people understand gambling with house money, right? It's somebody else's money. You won money and it's no longer a risk to your personal wallet or what you're holding. And then we look for, the next level would be 1,000%. When we hit 1,000%, we either reassess or we will get out of that position and, rinse and repeat. But it doesn't matter at that point, right? If it goes to $9,000, which would be your 1,000%, or if it goes to zero, you literally have lost no money at that point, other than your time or whatever the 20 minutes it took you to put into that trade. You have lost nothing in your financial position. So that is what we try and, because the more positions you can get into at that level, the higher chance you're going to win, right? Not all of them are going to win, but we have delivered over 12,000%, 37,000% to our investors. And as soon as we can get to that 300% level, we try and get our investors to a zero risk position. Think about the mental strength that you have at that point. You don't care about 50% dips either way because you have nothing invested at that point, right? Like you've already made your 200% and it's just sitting there. That's very key. So the more positions you can get into, and we've seen these crazy numbers, triple, quadruple, I'm not even sure how to, whatever the 5-digit and 6-digit percents, which sound absolutely ridiculous to even mention, but they happen in cryptocurrencies. So, my best, because we're talking about, yes, it's a young market. Yes, it's a speculative market. But if you can take a couple $100s and turn it into tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and take on more risk and build your portfolio that way, it's huge. Like, I think you'd be silly to ignore that market simply because it's a high risk. Many, you hear that on the news, and the dips go up and down. Volatility works both ways. Volatility is a trader's friend. Yes, you can lose a lot of money, but you can also make a lot of money. So, getting back to your initial question there a few minutes ago about what we look for, in the book, we actually break down 11 investment principles that you want to capitalize on before you even get into any position, whether you're looking at stocks, whether you're looking at, cannabis or psilocybin, or any of the other investment opportunity. I also invest in lumber farms. Several years ago, I was recommending to people to get invested in lumber farms, and you know what's happened here this past year. The market's gone up 300%. But a lumber farm is actually an asset because it's a continuous cycle, right? Every couple of years, you start a new crop of seeds, and on a 10-year cycle, you've got it continuing to grow. And of course, there's risks. You can have droughts, you can have fires, et cetera, et cetera. But that is an asset when you really get down to it. And if you're going to build wealth and you're going to grow your investment portfolio, the only way to do it is through assets. And that's really what we want to get to, and where I want to have investors think about. Cash is not an asset because it can be devalued and more can be printed of it. Your home, not your home, but commercial buildings, rental buildings can all be assets because they're paying you more money, right? Your tenant pays you money every month. That's the definition, is something that makes you more money. Your home is not an asset because you've got to pay taxes on it. You've got to, tend to your gardens. You've got maintenance and repairs. You got to hire plumbers. Unless you're fortunate to be in a market that has gone up, most people's homes are not true assets. And that's a misnomer in the market. Owning a business is an asset because you've got income coming in, right? Hopefully your clients are happy and you're getting paid. Stocks can be an asset, a paper asset. My hedge fund focuses on the commodities and futures market. Commodities is an asset because I can trade in and out of positions and keep my money liquid, or my investors' money liquid. When you're trading gold, when you're trading oil, when you're trading Bitcoin, which is also in the futures market, you can get in and out of a trade in seconds. You can't do that with stocks. That's one of the cons in the stock market, is that when you have a brokerage account, it may take you 2 weeks to find someone who's willing to buy your Tesla stock. Then you've got to convert it back into cash. And that whole process may take 2 weeks before you can actually turn that in. Stocks are an asset, but it's not one of my favorite asset classes. I actually call cryptocurrency and sound cryptocurrency a digital real estate. Again, because it's limited, the value continues to go up. These are what we all call assets. And whether you're looking at lumber farms or stocks or whatever, you want to put your money in assets, because the US government's going to continue to put money out there and devalue the currency. And if inflation is going to happen, the wealthy people put their money into assets, and all that inflation actually helps their assets increase in value. And that's how wealthy people continue to stay ahead. You can demonize the billionaires who made more billions of dollars during this whole pandemic and market crash and all that. But frankly, everybody had the same exact opportunity to put their money in assets. It's just the wealthy people who were smart enough to see this coming and take advantage of it. Now, I'm making general statements here, so I don't want to upset anybody. Yes, if you had no money to invest in the stock market, maybe you didn't have that opportunity. But there's different ways you can combat that. Anyway, the point is, if you want to continue to grow wealth and you want to stay ahead of inflation, the only way to do that is to own assets and continue to invest in assets. And there's those 5 asset classes.
Wow. I think that's a great place to end it. If you want wealth, you need to own assets. And Seth obviously knows what he's talking about. I'm just sitting there listening to him. I'm not taking notes because I'm like, I'll go back and listen if I need to. And I'm also going to pick up the book, Prohibited Profits. So again, folks, if you've been listening and watching right now and you'd like some more information about Seth or his business, you can go to SethManiscalco.com. The last name is MANISCALCO.com. You can also go to CryptoWealthCoach.co. He's pretty active on Instagram as well. It's his name, Seth Maniscalco. You pick up his book, Prohibited Prohibited Profits. Unlock the secrets of wealth hidden from the masses. It's definitely an interesting topic. You can obviously tell that he's passionate about it, that he knows his stuff. He's been doing it for 25 years. And, the reason why I was asking him these questions about how can you tell, how do you really know? Well, I know that he's real because he came to me through an outside source that vetted him before he even got to me as well. So he definitely knows his stuff. I'm really interested to read the book and to learn a little bit more about you. And I feel as though that a lot of the stuff I can understand. I'm a lawyer by trade and math isn't my thing, but I do understand the value of assets. So I appreciate you coming on here and spending the time. Again, my name is Mike Alden. That's Seth Maniscalco. And we'll see you soon. Today's episode is brought to you by frontrowbenefits.com, connecting consumers and businesses with front row access to the greatest health insurance that the United States has to offer. Visit frontrowbenefits.com. Folks, listen, if you're like me, if you own a business, if you have a family, or if you're an individual and you're looking for front row access to healthcare, maybe you're tired of your premiums going up. Maybe you don't want to pay those high deductibles anymore. Maybe you're tired of paying more and more for your monthly prescriptions, and you want to make sure that you're getting that VIP access, that front row access, then visit frontrowbenefits.com and get a free quote. They're connecting consumers and businesses with the top level insurance carriers in the United States at discounted prices. Visit frontrowbenefits.com. That's frontrowbenefits.com.